Welcome, everyone. Hello. I am Dr. Andrew Neville, coming to you here from snowy eastern Pennsylvania, where it's a little chilly. We're going to talk about adrenal fatigue today. Here at our live Q&A, we try to do these as often as possible, once a month, here and there for the public, to try to get out as much information about adrenal fatigue and try to correct some of the misconceptions and dispel some of the weird beliefs that have been conveyed to us over time regarding this pretty frustrating condition. So a few things, housekeeping things that I want to get to real quick. If my lovely team can let me know that we're okay. So we're okay there. Can you let me know about the other platform just to make sure we're good to go? Everybody can see me and hear me, like it or not. So we're going to talk about adrenal fatigue. If you have any questions or concerns, just questions. If you have any questions, let us know. Put them in the comments. What I'd also love for you to do is let us know who you are and where you are from. We have patients not only all over the country, but all over the world. Lots of international patients these days, so we're always curious to hear where people are chiming in from. So that would be neat if you could do that. A couple other things. This conversation does not equate to a doctor-patient relationship. I am not your doctor, so don't take any of this as medical advice. I will do everything I can to answer all your questions based on my 20-some years of doing this with thousands of patients by now. But I can't give you specifics, but I'll do the best we can. I can, if you have any questions, again, you can put them in the comments. We'll try to get them into our document. We've got a pretty solid list of questions to get into, which we will in just a moment. If you're a current patient and if you're in my Core Plus program, or if you're working directly with me, welcome. I'm glad you're here to kind of further your understanding and education about adrenal fatigue and everything that it entails. If you have any questions, you too can you can submit them, and if there's room at the end, I will get to them, but you have the luxury of reaching out to us directly so that my coaches or I will get back to you and answer any questions you might have. I do have several programs that I run still. I will here and there still see patients one-on-one in my Healing Transformation program. Primarily, though, I utilize my Core Plus program with my coaches. My coaches are phenomenal. They know more about adrenal fatigue than any other doctor that you can see, truly. And I'll talk about them a little bit. And I also have my core program, which is kind of the crux of my information education modules. I'll talk about that. As well. And I think that's it, unless one of my team yells at me and tells me I forgot to jump into something. So welcome again. Let us know where you're from, and we're going to get started. Chris says, is it wise to have a conventional doctor and a naturopathic physician assist me with my adrenal fatigue for recovery? Well, that's an interesting question, Chris. Most conventional doctors do not believe in adrenal fatigue, so that's going to be a bit of a challenge to explain that to them. Their understanding is that in order to have an adrenal problem, you either have to have complete adrenal failure, which is Addison's disease, or Cushing's disease, which is the opposite, usually the result of a pituitary tumor and overstimulation, overproduction of all those stress hormones. And they tend to believe that you can't have any problem anywhere in between those two extremes. Nothing could be further from the truth, but that's really what they're taught. That said, I like to have my patients have a local physician, if at all possible, so that they can understand their case and know their situation. A naturopathic physician is going to give you a better chance at having them understand and I don't know about understand, but having them accept that adrenal fatigue is actually a thing. And here's why I say that, because, I went to naturopathic medical school, right? So for 5 years, I was at naturopathic medical school, and I was seeing the top naturopathic doctors in the country, and they were still chasing after the symptoms. None of them addressed the adrenal issues that I was dealing with, which was really at the crux underlying my my gut issues, my food allergies, my candida problems, I was constantly getting sick. My Epstein-Barr was going up. I had anxiety, terrible fatigue, you name it, all kinds of things, blood pressure dysregulation. They were nicer about it in their way, which they generally tend to be, but they were still end up chasing after these symptoms and secondary dysfunction. As it wasn't until I found my predecessor's work in the library at Bastyr where it finally tied everything together, in that I was dealing with a broken stress response system. That's what adrenal fatigue is. It's more than a problem with just your adrenals. Your adrenals are the end organ. They dump the cortisol and the adrenaline. Life-saving. Got to have those hormones. You just don't want too much and you don't want too little. But the adrenals don't decide whether to release those hormones, right? Somebody tells them what to do. So we've got this hormone side of the stress response, which is your HPA axis ending in your adrenals. We've got the autonomic nervous system, so the nerve side of your stress response, controlling all your organs. And then we got the decision maker. The CEO of your stress response is deep in the limbic system. That works as a system. That is your stress response system. And when that gets overexposed to chronic stress of any kind over time, it gets us stuck in stress physiology. That is adrenal fatigue. That is where all the symptoms come from, whether it's the symptoms from the damage of being in fight or flight, right? Too much cortisol and adrenaline, fatigue, pain, weight, brain fog, anxiety, depression, blood sugar problems, blood pressure problems. All that stuff comes from stress physiology. We know that. Well documented. Now, not only do you deal with that, but you deal with the suppressed physiology on the other side. Because when you're dealing with a tiger, you're going to suppress your immune system, your digestive function, your reproductive hormones, your thyroid, and more. So now you're going to have problems in those systems too. And that's what everybody was chasing after. Well, take this herb for your brain fog. Take this for your weight. Take this for your anxiety that you were having. And they were nicer about it. It wasn't pharmaceuticals. It was herbs and things. But nobody was focusing on this deep down underlying problem, the broken stress response system. And it is fixable. You can absolutely fix that. You just got to deal with it in its entirety. All aspects of that stress response system. So, I don't know if I answered your question, Chris. Sorry, I can go off on tangents here and there. Okay, so Amira says, pardon me, coming off the holidays, it's a time for sharing and caring, and the family shared a bunch of germs. So my family ended up getting sick, myself included, although I did use my flu and viral protocol. If anybody's curious about that, maybe Suzanne can post a link to that. Sorry, Suzanne. Which helped nip it in the bud. A little bit of rest, do a few different things. It works really well. So I sound worse than I feel. Amira says, I know you mentioned eating every 3 to 4 hours with the hypoglycemic diet, but I noticed that when I eat frequently, I have more digestive issues. And I'm also not hungry nearly that often. Is there a way to space out food more while still protecting the adrenals? Okay. So Amira, the adrenals control your blood sugar. So if ever your blood sugar drops, that's a stress on your adrenals. Your adrenals have to respond to that, get your blood sugar up so you don't pass out. So anybody with adrenal problems needs to eat this hypoglycemic diet. Small, frequent meals, more protein and fat, low sugar and carb. Okay, those are general guidelines, but that's different for everybody. Minimally, it's 3 meals a day. Commonly, it's a meal and a snack pattern, right? Small breakfast, snack, small lunch, snack, small dinner, and a snack before bed. So you got to eat more often. Now, you got to eat small meals. So the small frequent meals are key, right? Smaller meals, a couple bites of something could be a snack, right? Not much. Because in addition to the blood sugar concern, we've got a stressed physiology, which means our digestion's suppressed. So now we don't have much of an appetite anyway. I get that. Now, in those meals, you want to eat a little more protein and fat. So animal protein tends to be best because it comes with fat, and certainly low sugar and carb. Listen to your body. This is the key, and all my patients get this advice. You want to listen to your body because your body will never lie to you. Your mind, though, it'll lie at the drop of a hat. But listen to your body. Your body will guide you through this. It shouldn't feel wrong, right? So maybe you need smaller meals. Maybe you need a little less protein and fat. Maybe you need a little less sugar and carb. Maybe you need 6 meals a day isn't good. Maybe it's just 4 or 5, right? So play with it. It shouldn't feel bad. I tell my patients, you should have no side effects from anything we do during this process. So welcome everybody who joined in a little late. I am Dr. Andrew Neville. We're talking about adrenal fatigue. I'm going to answer all the questions I possibly can. Let us know where you're from. I'd love to hear that. We've got patients all over the country, international patients too. And if you have a question, sneak it into the comments and I will try to get it on this long list of questions that I have. I'll do my best. Okay, Debbie says, I've been trying to get help for 15 years due to medication given to me by a functional nurse practitioner level for low energy. I now have Graves' disease, hyperthyroid, thyroid eye disease. My endocrinologist put me on methimazole, put me into hypothyroid, scored high for adrenal fatigue. Is this my best option for healing? Okay, considering taking detoxified iodine for thyroid issues. I'm not sure what detoxified iodine is. I wouldn't generally recommend iodine for somebody whose thyroid is as off balance as you. My best advice to you, Debbie, would be to reach out to us. You can get a complimentary call through one of my patient coordinators to have a conversation about what's going on for you, a little bit about your history and about your symptoms, what you're dealing with, to see whether or not you're a fit, try to get some guidance. So reach out. Suzanne will put that link in the information below. There is a strong connection between your adrenals and your thyroid. And in fact, the number one reason for thyroid problems in this country is actually going to be adrenal fatigue, because when our body is in stress physiology, those stress hormones actually go to the hypothalamic pituitary thyroid hormone axis and they suppress it at every level possible. That stress hormone also goes to the immune system and throws it off kilter. So it gives us an increased tendency towards autoimmune disease. So that could be Hashimoto's, it could be Graves' disease. It is almost impossible to regulate and heal that thyroid if the adrenals are still dysfunctional. So is this the best way to have it? It absolutely is. Get an assessment of your adrenal dysfunction, fix that. Now at least we have a shot at controlling and balancing out that thyroid. Okay, good luck. Anna says, can you direct us to the top things to do for metabolic dysfunction? Metabolic dysfunction. Well, I'm not sure what metabolic dysfunction fully means, although I can share with you that your metabolism is going to be governed by your physiology, right? So metabolism is this interesting, kind of ambiguous word, right? So to me, metabolism is how efficiently can your cells take energy from food and turn it into a universal form of energy that it can use to do stuff, anything. It's called ATP, to think a thought, to move a muscle, to build a neurotransmitter, to detoxify. Metabolism. Well, that metabolism depends on your adrenals and your thyroid working in conjunction with your mitochondria. And if there's somebody who has a problem with their stress physiology, all of those are compromised. The adrenals, the thyroid, the mitochondria get hit, so we can't produce energy very well. So the number one way to go about it, if there's an issue with metabolism, is figure out where this stress physiology is. On my website, I've got a symptom assessment tool. Takes 4 or 5 minutes. You just kind of answer some questions, really easy. It'll spit out the likelihood of adrenal problems. And I'd say if you have adrenal problems, your metabolism doesn't have a shot. Fix that, and then at least you're shifting that physiology in a real positive way. So that's my best answer. Yeah. Queen 72 says, hi from Singapore. Hello, welcome. What do I take to help me sleep longer? Oh, sleep is so. Oh, there's another one. Hold on. Lynn says, how do I use supplements for sleeping? The sleep issues, right? The insomnia issues go hand in hand with this problem. And the neurobiology of sleep is actually rather complex. I wish it was nice and easy, but it's a fairly complex process. And it is wired straight or directly through the limbic system HPA axis among some other things. When you have adrenal fatigue and you're dealing with insomnia, chances are your kind of typical run-of-the-mill sleep stuff doesn't really work. So a lot of my patients have sleep problems. They come into me and I tried melatonin, I tried St. John's wort, I tried tryptophan, I tried sleepy time tea and all this, and nothing worked. Okay. And that's because they're kind of chasing after these weird variables that may or may not be a problem. The crux of that problem actually is within that limbic system HPA axis dysfunction. So first thing we got to do is got to see where your cortisol levels are, because if you've got daytime cortisol in the middle of the night, you're not going to sleep. That needs to be addressed. You get that information through saliva testing. And certainly, I mean, this is something that we do in the programs that we have. A lot of my patients will tell me, look, doc, if you could just get me to sleep, I wouldn't have adrenal problems anymore. I'm like, okay, that might be true. But in order to get you to sleep, I've got to fix your adrenal problems. So we fix sleep all the time, right? And it's one of the most frustrating symptoms, but there is no simple answer. There really isn't. It's usually a combination of a variety of things to get this physiology to shift, to reorganize the brain, to help people to get down to sleep and to stay asleep. That's the key. I mean, we've got to turn on the vagus nerve. We've got to rewire the limbic system with relaxation exercises. We've got to eat a hypoglycemic diet, because if your blood sugar drops, you're going to be waking up, right? We've got to get omega-3s optimized in the brain. We've got to fix the mitochondria. And there's a lot to it. There's no magic answer, unfortunately. So, yeah. Oh, and just so you know, Singapore, we do have international packages. My team will share the link in the comments below if you're interested in working with us. So we can go, we can give that a shot. Mohammed says, how severe can adrenal fatigue get? Why do I still overheat no matter how much sea salt I take? It's a pain that comes with overheating, which is unbearable. Always overheating, gets worse if I sit anywhere than cold. Okay, so how severe can adrenal fatigue get? I mean, adrenal fatigue can get to the point of adrenal failure, which is life-threatening. It's rare, but it can. Now, the thing is, you don't have to have Addison's disease or complete adrenal failure you don't have to have that to suffer the consequences of this, right? Because even the middle stages of adrenal fatigue are debilitating. Now, it can be dangerous, but it is always uncomfortable and unbearably so. Now, temperature regulation is kind of one of the things you're talking about, and temperature regulation is going to be wired through your autonomic nervous system, through the limbic system. This limbic system in the brain does a bunch of stuff we don't have to think about. It controls our sleep-wake cycles, so that has to be repaired, of course, with regard to the sleep. It controls temperature regulation, a lot of stuff that we don't have to think about. But it's also the kind of the seat, the decision maker in your stress physiology. That has to be repaired always. A lot of people are talking about these brain rewiring programs, things like that. Yeah, of course we have to do that. Of course, and we do that within, on a daily basis, we do all that stuff. You have to, but not only, right? It's not just your brain. It's not just your limbic system. It's also your HPA axis, right? And it's not just your adrenals. It's also your autonomic nervous system, right? So, and you got to do it all. The most effective way to get ahead of this is to treat all of those things together. And it's not that complex. It's not that complex. I mean, I've been doing this a long time, so I can kind of see, I can help people figure out what their puzzle looks like, because everybody's got a different therapeutic puzzle with relation to this problem. And that's the hard part. I mean, that's the challenge, is figuring out what pieces of this puzzle are the same and which are unique for each individual person. And I don't know, we've just been doing it long enough that we've gotten really good at figuring out these puzzles. Okay. Katarina says, is berberine something you would take year round or just flu season? Okay, so that's pretty specific. So berberine is a broad spectrum antimicrobial. It's the active ingredient in a few different plants, and amazing. It's a broad spectrum antimicrobial, kills viruses, yeast, bacteria, a number of things. I use berberine quite a bit in my practice, but I use it as you would use like an antibiotic. take it when you're sick. So as soon as you get sick, take some berberine. Once your symptoms resolve, take it for a few days or a week after that. But I don't use it as a preventative. It has tons of other benefits as well. So I do have some patients taking it long term. But if you're just taking it for an immune system, just keep it on your shelf in your little pharmacy and use it as a direct antimicrobial. That colloidal silver is another one of my go-tos as far as that goes. But again, this is not an immune system booster. It's just kill stuff. So use it when you're sick and then don't use it. At least that's typically how I will use it. I can't tell you how to use it. I'm not your doctor. Avi, sorry, I'm going to mess up your name. You're a wonderful doctor. Thank you. God bless you. I have a question. If I have SIBO, some candida, and IBS, plus adrenal problems, what's the best diet? Well, Ave, most of my patients have SIBO, have IBS, have candida. I had all that stuff as well. The best diet is the diet that works for you. Now, the way I prioritize diet for my patients is first and foremost hypoglycemic diet. Hypoglycemic diet, small frequent meals, more protein, fat, low sugar, and carb. Then I will look into food sensitivities, right? So when I discovered all my stuff, I was allergic to gluten, dairy, and eggs. And turns out those are the top three. Tons of my patients are allergic to those. Temporarily, it does help to remove some of those food sensitivities, whether you found out from an elimination diet or you did some testing like an IgG ELISA test. Remove those temporarily, but, and this is huge, you have to fix the underlying problem. So the reason for the food sensitivities in the first place is going to be stress physiology, adrenal fatigue. So when we're in stress physiology, we suppress our immune, digestive, reproductive thyroid. So suppress the immune and digestive system together. You've got this great environment to develop IBS, dysbiosis, candida, all kinds of GI issues. So we see that stuff all the time. Have to do that because if you just remove the food sensitivities but don't fix this underlying physiology, you will continue to lose foods. And I've literally had patients come into me and they're like, I can eat chicken and broccoli and that's it. I react to everything else because nobody fixed this. So you got to do both. Now, thank you, team. I did write a hypoglycemic diet cookbook that with my head coach, Jermaine Quaxum. And it's a great book. So the Stress Less Cookbook, Suzanne will put the link in the comments. Good luck with that. Joey says, hi, Dr. Neville. I recently found your channel and I suffer from adrenal fatigue. I believe what you teach and how you teach it will help me to get back on track with my health issues. Thank you. You're welcome. My question is, can adrenal fatigue insufficiency cause problems with the kidneys, say lowering kidney function? Thank you in advance. No, Joey, I've not had, in all the years I've been doing this, and I see blood work on all my patients, I do not find that causes kidney dysfunction enough to lower kidney function, say on blood work. Now you can compromise all your organs when you're stuck in stress physiology. You're overusing certain organs, right? Like your heart and your lungs and your metabolism, blood sugar control. You're suppressing immune and digestive and liver function and reproductive hormones, thyroid. The kidneys are going to be within that balance, but no direct effect on kidney function, at least in my experience. So you might want to pay attention to, a little bit of something else. It is possible. They kind of tell us in med school, like your patient's allowed to have two different things. Like you could have this and this. And sometimes one causes the other. And that's kind of what I pay attention to. I always want to ask why. And it's a good idea to ask why. Can my kidney problem be a result of the adrenal problems? Not typically. And I've been doing this a long time. But if you say like Avi said, can my digestive problems be a result of adrenal fatigue? 100%. And that's what you got to fix. You pay a little attention to this stuff, but you really got to fix the underlying problem. Okay? Good luck. Roseanne says, I have anxiety and nausea. I always thought low cortisol was causing anxiety, which was causing the nausea. Then someone said stabilizing blood sugar helps with nausea. Can you help to explain this? Thank you. Okay. So anxiety and nausea can come together. Just picture you have to go up on stage. Pardon me, you have to go up on stage and present it in front of a bunch of people. You're going to have anxiety and you're going to get butterflies in the stomach because your physiology just shifted. You just suppressed your digestive system, and you probably jacked up your adrenaline a little bit to deal with the threat of getting up on stage. So it's all connected, right? So the majority of my patients, because of this stress physiology, they will have digestive issues, including nausea from time to time. Low blood sugar can contribute to nausea. The treatment is really the same. It's balancing back out this physiology. If you're feeling anxiety, so to me, anxiety is not, and I'm not crazy about the term anxiety, even because it's got this connotation where it's all in your head. It's a psychological problem. And it's not. It's not only a psychological problem. When you dump a bunch of adrenaline or cortisol in somebody's brain, you're going to have a panic attack. You're going to feel anxious. You're not going to be able to sit still. You're not going to be able to think straight, right? And if you ignore the anxiety and just fix the adrenaline and cortisol, all of a sudden the anxiety tends to go away. Pardon me. But if you have anxiety, then chances are you do have adrenal fatigue, and you can take my symptom assessment tool on my website to try to confirm that. And what is key is that when there's the anxiety, that means we're stuck in fight or flight, and this whole physiology is going to be messed up. So you can feel that anywhere. And what I've learned is that it's really crucial to calm people down first before you can successfully support them. So dealing with those triggers, dealing with desensitizing that physiology is really super key. What happens is with enough chronic stress over time to overwhelm somebody's capacity, right? However big your bucket is. With chronic stress over time, what that does is it creates a sensitization in the limbic system, which is the decision maker as to whether or not something in its environment, in your environment, is dangerous, right? Harmful. Can this thing kill me? Do I got to jump this body into fight or flight? Hormones, nerves, here's fight or flight, right? When that limbic system gets trigger happy, meaning it makes mountains out of molehills. Minor stress, major response, right? So now it takes just any little thing in life is triggering us into fight or flight because our bucket's full. That sensitization process, you can rewire all of that. And in fact, you have to, right? To be able to get through this, we have to rewire that system and desensitize it, calm it down. And when you calm that down, you stop suppressing your digestion, and now your nausea goes away. Good luck. Ritik, can I take ashwagandha for adrenal fatigue? You can try. I don't use ashwagandha in my practice. I thought I would. Learned all about these herbs, herbal medicine. I'm going to focus on adrenal fatigue. I figure I'd be using these adaptogens, ashwagandha, holy basil, rhodiola, ginseng. I'd be using them left and right. Turns out a lot of my patients are actually overstimulated by those adaptogens. So I if ever, I use them with caution. And they're never the only thing I would use. And it's rare that I actually will use them, which is kind of strange. It's one way I can recognize a novice practitioner who, if they're just throwing adaptogens at some of my patients, right? And I feel new patients all the time, so they'll come in and they'll show me all the stuff that their naturopath gave them or whatever, and I'm like, that's not gonna do it, unfortunately. So I will rarely use it. Again, you have to remember, adrenal fatigue is not just a problem with the adrenals. It's all of the hormones. It's the autonomic nervous system, and it's the limbic system calling the shots in the brain. You have to target all of those things together. That's really the important part. And it's not just about supplements too. And I know we want it to be about supplements. Just give me the supplement that'll help me to sleep. Give me the supplement that'll help my anxiety. Give me the supplement that'll help with my energy. Well, supplements are just that. They're supplemental to a whole lot of foundational work that has to be done. It's mindset stuff. It's lifestyle management, it's resting, it's pacing, it's relaxation exercises, it's diet, it's finding balance. There's a ton of really foundational stuff that the supplements build upon to help to shift that physiology. Not that I don't use supplements, but that's the easy part. It's easy to throw supplements at people. It's kind of addressing some of the underlying issues and laying that really solid foundation that's key. And you want to do all of it, right? You want to do all of it together. So Christine says, I'm also wondering about taking resveratrol since I heard it has so many antioxidant benefits. I'm concerned since I have hypothyroidism and taking levo, if this would be a good idea to take this supplement. Yeah, so I use resveratrol fairly often in my practice with my patients. It's a great antioxidant, helps with neuroplasticity, helps with mitochondrial healing as well, and a lot of huge benefits with that. I have not seen problems with thyroid and with prescribing resveratrol in my practice. Of course, you got to talk to your doctor and figure out what you want to do, but I've not seen any issues that way. Katerina says, can I heal mostly with the core program I bought? What is your stand on medical marijuana? Okay, a couple questions. So, core program. So in order to fix this thing, I used to have patients come and stay with us at our guest house on our property. And people come from all over the country, a couple weeks, a couple months sometimes, to get treated for this. And they did well. Now, the problem is most people don't have the resources, right? The time, the energy, the money to come and hang out with us and get that level of care. So I've created several programs to initially I was hoping that I could duplicate those more successful results, but so people wouldn't have to come here to make that happen, try to make it more accessible to more people. So my healing transformation program includes me, so I will still see some patients one-on-one. I have a team of coaches who are amazing, who control my Core Plus program. And my coaches, just so you know, my coaches are phenomenal. I said earlier, they know more about adrenal fatigue than any doctor you can go to, and I stand by that. They have had this condition. They've been through my program. They also had previous coaching or nutrition experience. And then I put them through my adrenal health coach training program as well. They're amazing. So that program is a bit of a step down, it works amazingly well. In each of those, there is the core, which are a bunch of modules, educational modules. I basically documented all the advice I ever used to give those people who used to stay with us. I've recorded it. I've written it down. I've documented it, and I've doled it out in certain modules over time. We have that available for people to purchase. We just actually re-released it just this past week, I think. We re-released it. If you're interested in that, and here's the thing, Katerina, can you heal with that core program? You can. Is it the easiest way to go? No. The best way to go is to work with us. We can provide guidance. We're good at figuring out what that puzzle is. Can you do it on your own? You can, right? You can. Now, a lot of my patients can't. Like, it takes a little more guidance, a little more help, a little more support, and that's okay, right? It's okay. But if you can't access the programs that we have, the core program, it might be the right thing for you. Now, you could be just a self-starter. You're like, I got it. You tell me what to do, I'll do it. Most of my patients need more help than that. But if that's you, core would work for you. Or simply because of financial constraints, if you absolutely cannot work with us in any other way, then with the guidance, right? You'll have to do it on your own, but with that guidance that's in that core program, it absolutely can help. So my team will put a link out in the chat for that. So you can. What is your stand on medical marijuana? It's cool. Yeah, I've got no problem with it. Use CBD, use medical marijuana. It's all good. Okay. I mean, there's more issues, right? You can use that, right? But it's a supplement. You got to fix the underlying problem as to why you need that and, do it that way. But I don't have a problem. Okay. Nancy says, riding in the car causes much stress and anxiety. Don't understand why. I need to get back to chiropractor, acupuncture. I've been on your core program for 3 weeks and feel some better. Thank you. Well, you're welcome. So again, you can, right? You can heal this. And the key as you're looking for signs that you're healing is that this physiology is shifting, right? Because when your physiology is stuck here, easy for me to say, when your physiology is stuck here, you're going to feel anxious. You're going to depressed, fatigue, insomnia, all that stuff, right? You should be calming. Initially, that's what we're looking for, is the calming part of this process, okay? Now, again, what you want to remember, Nancy, is that this limbic system, because it's been exposed to stress hormone, it's making mountains out of molehills. So things that wouldn't have stressed you a year ago, 5 years, 10 years ago, now is being perceived as stress. You're in the process of rewiring that system, and it'll continue to do so. So don't push it. Calm yourself. You will be able to live, and you will be able to broaden your capacity incrementally over time. But for as long as you can, kind of stay in a bubble, protect it, heal it, and then you can step out little by little. So you'll get there. You'll get there. Lisa says, are histamine issues related to adrenal fatigue? How and why? Eating can be tricky when so many healing foods, bone broth, are high histamine. Any suggestions as histamine intolerance get better as the adrenals get better? Okay, so just about all my patients have some degree of histamine intolerance. Why? Is because stress physiology, right? Stress hormone goes to the immune system and shifts it off kilter. It's called a Th1 to Th2 shift. Th1 side stands for T helper cells. Th1 side fights infection. That side gets suppressed. Th2 side creates antibodies to things, including histamine reactions. So now we start developing reactions to things. That is invariably a problem in my patient population. So my assumption is most of my patients have histamine problems, some worse than others. The key is to fix the underlying problem, because you can't just avoid histamine foods and fix everything. You're just avoiding the triggers and the reactors. You got to fix this underlying physiology, because that histamine intolerance will improve over time. Now, vitamin C is a real good histamine scavenger. I use quercetin quite a bit in my practice as a mast cell stabilizer. So these things are good temporarily as you're doing this, but don't just assume you might have histamine problems, because eating a low histamine diet is not easy. If you notice when you eat a food, you react adversely, then you want to pay attention to it, right? And say, all right, is the good outweighing the bad, or is the bad outweighing the good? Generally, the less reactivity, the better. But again, the key is you pay some attention to the diet and what you're consuming, but then fix it at a deeper level so you don't have to be on some crazy restricted diet forever, okay? All right, Brielle says, I experience really strange internal vibrations and no doctor's been able to tell me why they happen. They just say it's my anxiety. Can you explain why they happen and what to do to make them stop? Okay, Brielle, so that's a ridiculously uncomfortable situation, but very common. This inner vibration, some people describe it like a motor's running inside them, or they feel like they're trembling all the time. Sometimes they do outwardly tremble a little bit, but a lot of times they just feel it on the inside. And essentially what that is, and I don't want to blame it on anxiety. It comes with anxiety. It's adrenaline. For whatever reason, your body is running on adrenaline. And when adrenaline is flowing through your veins, you're going to feel kind of trembly, wired, like that motor is running in your system. And what needs to happen, essentially, is that we calm your physiology so that we shut off that adrenaline side of things. Now, adrenaline can come from the adrenals as a hormone, but it is also the neurotransmitter that's released from the autonomic nervous system as well. So it gets in the brain and it can cause all kinds of discomfort. Adrenaline is one of the most uncomfortable things. So likely, right? It's coming from, let's call it adrenal fatigue. It's coming from an overused stress response physiology. By all means, reach out to us. I've got a patient coordinator to provide a complimentary call. You can talk things through with her. She's amazing and compassionate and understanding. And so if you have any further questions, call. I get it. It's a terribly uncomfortable process, but it goes hand in hand with this problem. Okay. And that's fixable. That's the key. This is all fixable. That's what I want you all to hear. It's all fixable if you do it the right way. But is ashwagandha going to do it? No. Is quercetin going to do it? No. Is a vagus nerve exercise going to do it? No. A little. It's going to be a combination of things. That's the key. Is it's a combination of things together to figure out what your puzzle is, and that can absolutely be done. Okay, my team's telling me to hurry up. All right. It's my channel, baby. Do you find NR, precursor to NAD, nicotinamide riboside, or NAD plus helpful for any of us? What form? I don't use them. I don't use them in my practice. I'm aware of the research. To me, this is more of a fad, kind of a vitamin type of a thing. So I just don't tend to use them. They're important for mitochondrial function. I mean, I'm aware of the research. There are deeper problems that have to be done to repair some of those issues with regard to the mitochondria. So, not against those things, but I just don't have to use them in my practice. Sherry says, I've always heard that adrenal fatigue was secondary to something bigger. Oh, I've heard that too, Sherry. It's not, but you are mentioning adrenal fatigue is actually the cause and effect of others' issues. Could you explain a little bit more? Okay, so I've heard that too, and that's the big argument. Let's picture the bucket. We all have a certain size bucket of tolerance for stress. It's the Lyme that caused the adrenal fatigue. It's the Candida. It's the mold. It's the Epstein-Barr. It's the parvovirus. It's HHV6. It was the divorce. It was the accident. It was my previous trauma. It was, you name it. It all goes into the same bucket. And if your bucket is full, the straw that breaks the camel's back could be that last thing. Oh, ever since this. And they're like, aha, we have it, the smoking gun, right? But no, that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's distracting for people, for us as patients, for doctors. They're like, oh, that was it ever since then. But if we go back through the history for my patients, we'll see frequent urination, we'll see hypoglycemia, we'll see episodes of anxiety, depression, periods of fatigue, getting sick. You'll see early warning signs that the bucket's been filling up and the adrenals are a problem. Right? So let's look at Epstein-Barr. Why does Epstein-Barr bother? Why did my Epstein-Barr reactivate, but my neighbors didn't? Because everybody has Epstein-Barr in them. Everybody. Why does mine reactivate all the time? The problem's me. The problem's not the Epstein-Barr. Right? That's the biggest load of. It's not the Epstein-Barr. Okay? Everybody's got Epstein-Barr. The problem was me. The problem was my immune system wasn't strong enough to keep Epstein-Barr at bay. What controls my immune system? This physiology. What about the mold? It's got to be the mold that's the problem, right? Well, every mold story comes with, well, some people in my family, they didn't even notice it, right? But I got really, really sick. Well, yes, you did, because you were vulnerable, because your bucket was full, because your immune system was shifted. So what adrenal fatigue does is it makes us susceptible to all these other secondary problems, including hypothyroidism, including all the hormonal problems that women get, PMS, estrogen dominance, PCOS, menopausal symptoms, including all the digestive problems. It's not the candida. It's not the food allergies. These are all secondary problems that we are vulnerable to when we have adrenal issues. That's what has to be fixed. Because otherwise you're playing whack-a-mole, trying to chase after these symptoms and these secondary dysfunctions, and you'll do that forever, and you'll make other doctors wealthy, right? But you'll never fix the problem. You can fix the underlying problem by fixing this physiology. And that's my goal for everybody. Fix this physiology. Symptoms go away, secondary problems improve, and then go live your life and stay away from as many doctors as you can. And if you haven't been to the YouTube channel, check out the YouTube channel. I talk all about that ad nauseum. Okay, Lauren says, my HTMA, hair tissue mineral analysis, which we don't use anymore, showed low potassium, sodium, and sodium levels. Wondering if that's indicative of a stage of adrenal fatigue. Had an Epstein-Barr, there it is, reactivate 6 months ago for the first time, maybe not early stage. Thanks for speaking. Okay, so we don't use hair tissue mineral analysis. Dr. Posnecker before me did, but he found that once you could actually test the stress response physiology directly as opposed to a secondary test, why not do that? So I don't find that those values help me. Salivary hormone testing is what you want. We tend to use, one particular lab that does this, diagnostics out in Washington State. They do a great job. that test is what you want. Those tests will give us the information you want, staging of adrenal fatigue, not these mineral tests. I'm sorry for that, but that's just, that's the reality. But if you did the test and something's off, if you have Epstein-Barr reactivated, with adrenal fatigue, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, right, walks like we kind of know what we're dealing with. But if you want to take the symptom assessment tool on my website, great. If you want to reach out to us with a phone call, if it fits, then chances are you have adrenal fatigue. And if you have adrenal fatigue, you have a broken stress response system, which is way more than hair tissue mineral analysis is going to get you assessed for. Okay. Avi says, do you think that fear, negative thoughts, and feeling lonely or sad could be the cause? It's a contributor, right? It's a contributor. Certainly, glass half empty people develop adrenal fatigue more than glass half full people, right? There's certain personality traits. For instance, lazy people don't tend to develop adrenal fatigue. Now, type A people, overachievers, perfectionists, they tend to develop adrenal fatigue. The thing is, it's a chicken or egg conversation. So yes, we want to work on mindset in all my patients, but I can also tell you that if you dump a bunch of stress hormone in somebody's brain, they'll get depressed. Is that a psychological problem or is that just a stress hormone problem? Let's fix the stress hormone problem. Now we're not depressed anymore. So it's all of it together, right? It's all of it together. Amira says, I'm about to do my yearly lab work. Are there any things to test specifically in regards to adrenal fatigue? Adrenal fatigue doesn't really show up in the blood work. You can get a cortisol, but the cortisol it's all your cortisol. It's not your free cortisol. That's what the saliva test does. You can get a DHEA sulfate. Sometimes that can get some information. Not ideal. Again, saliva testing is what you want. Sometimes they'll run pregnenolone levels. Most of my patients come back with normal conventional blood tests. Not that I don't do them. You want to get the CBC, CMP, check the thyroid, check the vitamin D status, get some lipids and see where your triglycerides and all, or metabolic dysfunction things. But most of the time that stuff is normal, or at least normal within their ranges. I can use that information, within the bounds of normal, but doesn't help a ton, unfortunately. Sorry. Evangelos, hey doctor, I have a little daughter. I lost the question. I hit the wrong button. Hey doc, I have a little daughter, 9 years old. Blood tests, 17-OH progesterone is off. Is it a problem? How can we face it? 100%. Anxious crying at the time. So 17-OH progesterone is part of your adrenal cascade within hormones. I'd be looking at salivary hormone testing because on the saliva test that we do, that same test is there. Again, in kids, it looks a little different, right? So what I would do is potentially reach out with a phone call, to a complimentary call, right? Talk to one of my patient coordinators and they can help you to make sense of this. But chances are it's fixable. There is a genetic glitch with that hormone that can sometimes be there, and that should be tested as well. But you can. You just got to reach out to the right people and get the right information. Okay. Okay, there's a long one. So Michelle says a lot. I'm an RN. I've got all these problems, treatments, Hashimoto's is volatile, migraines. But how do I and other people on Medicare, Medicaid afford a treatment plan and all this stuff? Okay. I'm sorry you're suffering like that, Michelle, and I'm sorry you haven't been able to get care and guidance, at least the right care and the right guidance. Many of my patients are in the same situation. What would be best is if you could work with us, right, with a program. However, if that's not possible, reach out. We will post a link to CORE. We kind of extended the wait list to get CORE at a lowest price we're going to offer it, which is all my information. And you can use that information. You absolutely can use that information. That's why it's there, because I do not like that finances prevent people from getting well. Now, it's going to require, some reserve and some effort and some willpower. And, it's better to work with us. But if you can't, that's the best way to go. And I should say, look into our Facebook group. So we've got a Facebook group, which is private but open to the public, right? And so anybody can go in there. It's called Healing Adrenal Fatigue Holistically. Tons of support in there. Some of my patients are on there, but it's moderated by us. but also public, so non-patients as well. So, and it's free. You can just jump on that. Good luck. Jenny says, Happy New Year. I'm sensitive to lemon. Does this, okay, that one, no. Jenny says, Happy New Year. I'm sensitive to lemon. Does this create muscle spasm? If yes, how? Not really. Not really. I mean, if you're sensitive to lemon, you probably shouldn't eat lemon, but does it create muscle spasm? I mean, it could create tension. I mean, stress creates tension. So maybe indirectly, I mean, a lot of my patients have muscle tension. Not really a direct connection, though. Mohammed said, can I eat beef brain instead of Serifos? I asked because beef brain contains phosphatidylserine and ethanolamine, which are both in Serifos, easier to get and rather tasty. Go for it, Mohammed. I've never used it in my practice, but I'm not against it. I mean, I like the use of glandulars and organ meats quite a bit. So go for it. Amira says, when approaching weight training with adrenal fatigue, is it easier on the adrenals to do lighter weight, higher rep, or heavier weight, lower rep? What's the best way to gain muscle with adrenal fatigue? Okay, so that's a lot of words. If you're dealing with adrenal fatigue, you have to be really cautious and careful. It's cautious. I just made that. You have to be really cautious with trying to build muscle and potentially overtraining. That's the biggest thing, because exercise is a stress, and it's fine. It's a good stress, but if your bucket is too full, any stress, I don't care if it's lightweight, high rep, heavy weight, low rep, any stress can be a bit of a problem. The key is to listen to your body. Typically, it's things that require endurance cause problems. That's why all my patients have to rest and pace. They can do stuff, but you got to do a little, to take a break, do a little, rest a little, do a little, rest a little. So maybe a little more high intensity, lower rep might be a good idea, but listen to your body, because it's easy to push exercise too fast, and it's hard to gain muscle if you're dealing with stress physiology, right? So don't chase after that. Fix this physiology, and then you can exercise all you want, okay? Evangeline, so thankful for the core program. It's helped me so much. Thank you. Good. How long does it take to calm anxiety? Is there a time frame? Yeah, smiley face. I can't answer that question, but it absolutely does happen and needs to happen, right? And it's a combination of things. There's no magic bullet for anxiety or for adrenaline or for cortisol, but with a combination of things described in core, when you do that consistently enough, you will rewire the limbic system. It'll stop over-perceiving your environment as dangerous, and it will calm incrementally. But it comes in glimpses first, and that's the key. It's a glimpse. And then glimpses become moments, and then moments become minutes, right? And then it's an hour here and there. Not great in the beginning, but not horrible, right? Just calmer. Then you have an hour here and there, and then a couple hours, and then a half a day, and then a day here and there. So it's incrementally over time, okay? And the key is, when you feel better, don't kid yourself to think that you are better yet. Eventually, you'll feel better. The key, what I do with all my patients, is I help them to hold on to the reins. Slow down, back off, rest, pace. It's seductive. We have a good day, we feel better. It's easy to overspend our energy. The less you do that, the more you'll fill up the tank. That's the key. Fill up the reserve, and then eventually you can use that energy. So just do it cautiously. All right, I'm not going to get to all of them, team. Sorry. If there's any critical, you got to bump them up the list. Ratik says, and waking up at night for peeing, not able to sleep again. Yeah, so key thing is salt, right? The adrenals help us to hold on to salt. If you can't hold on to salt, you can't hold on to water. So my patients pee it all out. Pee during the day, pee at night. So I'm always increasing salt a little bit in my patients. Testing gives us some guidance with regard to that, but that's really a key. And, the sleep problem goes with all of this other stuff as well. Danny says, have you found your approach to treating adrenal fatigue have developed or become more refined once you first started your practice? If so, how? It's a good question, Danny. Definitely have developed and refined. I mean, I built my programs on Dr. Posnecker's work, was primarily focused on adrenal fatigue. We've expanded that to focus on the core, the stress response system as a whole, the hormones, the nerves, the limbic system in the brain. And I find as we do all of that together, people get better faster. So we're a little more efficient. And definitely we've kind of broadened and refined and broadened and refined. It has transformed over time. So yeah, thanks for asking that. Rebecca. Kiran Krishnan is telling us that coconut oil, probably saturated fats, creates more LPS. I have pathogenic bacteria, H. pylori, Lyme's, missing beneficial bacteria, keto, just coconut oil and saturated fat, LPS. And I don't find sulfur intolerance since going keto. I get rashes from eating garlic, onions. Why? Yeah, so there's a lot to that, Rebecca. I don't know who that person is, but I would trust your body. Don't eat something if you have a problem with it. I don't mind coconut oil in general. Lori says, how am I doing? Lori says, my doctor had me get a CGM because my glucose is all over the place. Not even a week. Glucose always high. Even upon waking, middle of the night, glucose high. Is this adrenal fatigue? Eating something before bed helped a lot. Okay. So CGMs can be helpful. They can be a little stressful, right? Because sometimes it's too much information. And, those of us that are a little more obsessive can get a little panicky and freaked out with all this information. The blood sugar problems with adrenal issues is more of a dysglycemia, so an imbalanced blood sugar as opposed to hypoglycemia or hyperglycemia. It's dysglycemia. So it's bouncy. It just bounces all over the place. The hypoglycemic diet will help to modulate that. It's one of the biggest things. But remember, there's two ways to raise sugar in your blood. You can eat it in the form of sugar and carbs, or you can get stressed, because stress is just going to tell your adrenals to release sugar so you can fight the tiger that must be in front of you. You got to control both of those. That's the key. And don't get obsessive about it as best you can, but hypoglycemic diet is the key. Okay, two more. Lorena says, adrenal fatigue can produce MCAS, mast cell activation syndrome. How to treat MCAS in an adrenal fatigue patient. Yeah, we do it all the time, Lorena. Again, I assume histamine issues in all my patients, some to the extent you can call it histamine intolerance or MCAS. It's not that complicated to actually treat it, right? You don't overeat histamine foods, use antihistamine things, whether it's quercetin, vitamin C. But the biggest issue is you've got to fix the reason that you have histamine problems, which is stress physiology. It's the stress hormone that's hitting the immune system, telling it to overreact, contributing to the histamine issues. That's what you've got to fix. Otherwise, you'll be doing all this crazy antihistamine stuff forever. Fix the underlying problem. Fix the why. That's the biggest thing, is to fix the why. I mean, that's what, if we boil it all down, all this stuff, just ask why. Is it Epstein-Barr causing my problem? Well, why is it your Epstein-Barr and not somebody else's Epstein-Barr? Right? I have histamine issues. Why? I have hormone problems. Why? I've got IBS and candida issues. Why? That stuff is ubiquitous. It's everywhere. But I reacted to mold. Why? The problem is us. The problem is me, just like the problem is you. It's our physiology that's allowing those things to cause a problem. Keep asking why. Okay, last one. All my cortisol levels are normal. Can I still have adrenal fatigue? Depends on how you tested it. I have every symptom listed with the exception of excess weight. I can't get a single specialist doctor to help me going on a solid year. I've been unable to work since August. I'm sorry. Sonia, I'm sorry. It's a very common story. So you can reach out, right? We got patient coordinators, complimentary call, talk to them, get some guidance with regard to that. Chances are, if you have all the symptoms of adrenal fatigue, you have adrenal fatigue. It just hasn't been assessed and tested correctly. And we can do that for you. It's okay to need help. This information that I provide, I'm thrilled to do it because I want to get the information out. There's so much misinformation that's out there that it's incredibly frustrating for me that people have to go through all these trials and do all this. Oh, I did all these detoxes. I did all these candida cleanses. I treated my SIBO. And doctors will pick and choose and cherry pick and just look at all of the superficial stuff. They'll treat patients for years and years and never fix the underlying problem, which creates customers. I do not believe in creating customers out of patients. I want to help you understand what the problem is and fix that underlying problem. Fix that underlying physiology, because when we shift this physiology, not only do your symptoms incrementally go away, the secondary problems incrementally improve. But now you've put your physiology in charge. Your physiology is now an anti-inflammatory physiology, anti-cancer, anti-aging. Now you can feel good, get on with your life, and stay away from as many doctors as possible. All right? Take care. All my best. We'll be back soon. Reach out if you have any questions. Okay? Bye now.